Dear Dharma friends and all practitioners, it's Sunday, the 15th of December 2024. We continue with practicing Petra Zen's is planting a seed of non-attachment. As the wise men and the patriarchs remind us, using the Buddha words, using our applications, wisdom to reach the observation wisdom and going back to the Buddha nature wisdom. So we use the doubt by asking questions. The doubt will help us to go back to the root of all ignorance, and that will be the Buddha nature later on. So, as the Buddha said, that you reflect back to your Buddha nature, our mind are always going out to the ignorance, and they do not reflect back to the Buddha nature. And when you going out toward the knowledge, which means you continue to go on the dualistic aspect of the mind, when you realize that you have a disease or the illness, you need to cure that disease in order to get a healthy life. So we rely on the application wisdom to go back to the observations wisdom and back to the Buddha nature wisdom. We don't attach ourselves to the knowing, the hearing, the feelings, or the knowing. It doesn't mean that we stopping in the seeing, the knowing, feelings, or knowing. We're using the practice to detach ourselves from all of those. Even that is the Buddha words, we still doing the practice to detach ourselves from them. So when we asking the questions, raising doubts, we use the doubt to sweep up everything that arises in our mind. So when we still attach ourselves to the knowledge, to the words, the ignorance, then we still attach ourselves to the ignorance. And for some people, they misunderstood the meanings of the patriarchs or the Buddha, that they attach themselves to the not knowing mind and thought that is the ultimate goal. And they thought that they enter the stream of practice, but you still have the attachment to something. That's why when practitioners, they running after all those attachments in their mind, which means they going on the wrong path. So we are now practicing the patriarch Zen. We still have not going back to our Buddha nature. We still going in the path of knowledge and understanding. That's why we still have some problem when we're doing the practice. However, even though it's hard, however, we still continue to do the practice until we get familiar with our practice. The patriarch said that your mind tie up your own mind. As the Duy Zen Master said that you learning to practice patriarch Zen just like learning how to ride a bicycle. At first, you have no balance when you start the learning to ride the bike, but it's hard at first to keep your balance. You're gonna have some falls at first, but eventually when you get used to the balance and you start to have the balance, you can walk, you can ride the bike without falling anymore. So that is an example that when the first time doing the practice, it might be difficult. But even though difficult, we still need to do the practice until we get familiar with our practice. And when we can get familiar with our practice already, then we gonna have less attachment. So when we doing the practice, we listen to the Dharma talk. That's a reminder for us to go back to the practice. And when you're doing the practice, the more you do in the practice, the more you believing in your own Buddha nature. And when you believe in your Buddha nature and continue to practice diligently, that will be the chance that you will realize your own Buddha nature someday. So when Trung Phong Zen Master said that when you have a small doubt, you're gonna have a small enlightenment. When you have a big doubt, you're gonna have a bigger enlightenment. So if you have any questions, go ahead and speak up. Pháp Thiện, go ahead.
Nam mô Bổn Sư Thích Ca Mâu Ni Phật. Kính bạch thầy, kính bạch quý thầy cô và kính thưa đại chúng.
This week topic raising doubt will go leads us to go to the non-attachment of the mind. Yesterday, I have shared a little bit of the experience, and I'd like to share a little bit more when I had the experience when I practice in Phật Thánh Thành temple. Doesn't matter if it's attachment or not attachment. I still need to share my experience. In the booklet, when we facing with challenges, we need to go overcome our challenges. And when I was practicing in Phật Thánh Thành temple, when I using the knowing to practice, it's really hard to go to the ultimate goal. When I went to the temple over there, I realized that the practitioner, they can do the sitting meditation very well, and they can sit really long times. And I thought that when they can do it, I can do it. And I mimic them to do it. The meditation from 3 a.m. to 12 p.m. And I realized that it's also the attachment to the achievement. And when I enter the practice, I can do the same practicing when I can do the sitting really long times. However, it feels like I try to do the practice with a lot of pain, and I thought that it's a way of practice. When I have too much pain, I incidentally peeing on right at the place, and I feel really ashamed of what I'm doing. However, a lot of people, they thought that the more you sit in, the more you can, the more your practice is. So I asked people over there, and they said that is the way that we do in practice over here. And I realized that when we can sit as long like that, I have the ego coming up that I am better than other people when I can sit better than other people. So after a long time sitting like that, and at first I try others to overcome the pain during the practice, and many other methods that I try to do, and I using other methods, and the practice is to contemplate on the hands, to have an eyes in my hand, so I feel like that is the ultimate practice that I had. And when I saw you came to Vạn Phật Thành, and I received the Dharma talk said by Pháp Tử, and I started to feel like I still have something else that we need to focus on. And later on, when I listened to the Dharma talk from Duy Lực Zen Master and from you, I decided to stop practicing that practice as a Vạn Phật Thành and started to do the Prajna. And I want to remind everybody that when for some practitioner that they attach to their sitting meditations, and they thought that not eating when you're practicing or sitting in a long time is a practicing. They can sit for a long time, for the whole night, and they doing the practice in their sleep, and when they sit, they leaning to one side and they sleep, and they thought that is the ultimate practice. And I remember that the Sikh patriarch reminded us that the meditation is in your mind, it's not in your sitting or walking, it's not the forms. So I realize now when I'm practicing the Prajna that everything that I did was wrong, and I start to do the practice and understand more about the Dharma talk, that you always remind us to do the practice, even though you said that you're doing the practice in all circumstances or all the times, but we doing the practice in the mind. It's not based on our forms. And my habits, I realize that it's still there and follow me, but I feel more like I can overcome those easier. It's not opposing, it's not a suppressing of the pain, but we doing the practice very, very diligently, always in the mind. I just want to share my experience. I really appreciate you and your words. When I went back to my house, I'd always crying because I still have the habit. I know your compassions, and I really appreciate your words. When I practicing in Vạn Phật Thành temple, I realized that they have more strict rules over there. However, when I came back here, my mind still comparing between the rules over here and the rules over there, and that's still the attachment that I have in practicing. So I still have that habit of comparison between the practicing in two places. I didn't rely on the Dharma from the Buddha. So I facing a lot of challenges. I'd like to share another challenges that I have is the two dogs in the temples. They have a rules that we're not raising dogs or cats at the temples, and I thought that the two dogs right there is going against the rules. And when I'm practicing more and I realize the words I'm attaching to, and I realize that the only way to do the practice properly is to detaching myself from everything, my mind from everything. I'd like to share another experience as Suchi Zen master. When I sharing the sitting, the long sitting, a prolonged sitting with Suchi Zen master, he said that if you want, you can do it at night, but you will realize, I realized that I might have some problem still with the sitting, prolonged sitting. And could you give us some encouragement from this? So based on your sharing, your experience, I really appreciate your sharing. It's very true and honest sharing, and all those experience that you went through, you always thought that you achieved something, and you feel like you're gonna lose what you achieve if we not doing the practice, and those are the attachments that you have on your achievement. So when we read the Buddha words, sometimes the words conflicts with each other. As the patriarch said that when you rely on you attach yourself to the Buddha words, you talking on the evil tongue, And if you don't use the Buddha words, you not interpret the Buddha nature on the right way. So when you hear these reminder, you can see the contradictions in the words. However, when you do the practice on the right way, you will not attach to those words. So we focus on the practice. We don't focus on the words, on understanding. You realize that for some people, they, for the Dharma monk, sometimes they know all the sutras, they memorize all those sutras, and they can chanting on the sutra really well when they was young, but when they get older, they start to forget. When they chanting the sutra, they start to forget here and there. And you can see that that is not the ultimate goal that we looking for. But when we do the practice, you can see that you can realize eventually that we following the Dharma, but not the person. We following the wisdom, not the mind, and we following the formal sutra, not the non-formal sutra. The more we practice, the more we will realize the real meanings behind these words. And all these words are just a means that Buddha used in order to encourage us to go back to the practice, to reflect ourselves back to our Buddha nature. When we're listening to something, we reflect back to our Buddha nature hearing. When we try to explain the sutra, when we try to explain the Buddha words or the patriarch words, without the practicing, we won't be able to digest them correctly. So when we said that asking questions and raising doubt, how to ask questions and how to raise doubt, we need to ask questions in order to do the practice properly and go on the right path. When we do the practice, there's nothing for us to renounce, nothing for us to take on. That is our practice. We don't attach ourselves to anything. We need to have our own responsibilities to when we do the practice. And you have to realize that the responsibility of the monk life and responsibility of the home practitioners, if you mixed up between the responsibilities, sometimes you will destroy the Buddha. You criticize the Buddha, you insult the Buddha Dharma that you don't realize. So you need to respect the Buddha Dharma, you need to respect the Sangha, you need to respect our Buddha nature in order to practice it correctly.